Hi, my name is Lillian. I'm 58 years old and have experienced 34 years of covert domestic violence, otherwise known as narcissistic abuse. But I'm not just a survivor, I am more than a conqueror in Christ Jesus. If this is your first time, thanks for stopping in. And to get a wider scope of what I talk about here, you can look in the description box. There's a link that says why I'm here. If you're returning, I'm sorry you're walking through this, but I'm glad you found your way here. And you know, I'll always remind you to listen to my content with that one question in the back of your mind. Is my marriage difficult, or am I married to a dangerous man? That's the motivation for this channel, what my marriage was like and how I woke up to the truth that my husband wasn't a difficult, clueless guy when it came to relationships. No, he knew a lot, actually, and that's what makes him such a dangerous man. If you're starting to wake up and think that this might be your reality, please be gentle on yourself. You're about to step on a rough ride of truth, a darkness you've never experienced, but just know that you're not alone. I'm here for you. I hope this channel will be a source of awakening, validation, healing, and will show you how God uses a righteous divorce to free you from bondage of narcissistic abuse in your marriage. If you know someone that seems like their marriage is highly conflicted, you don't know what it is, but you can feel that something's off. But you know you can't come right out and say it. Please forward any of my videos to her. Those of us that are stuck in this mind lock, we are blind to the difference in the attention we receive from a male. We cannot tell the difference between abuse and love. My purpose on this channel is to help broken feminine hearts heal so that my sisters in Christ can get strong. And there's two possible outcomes with this knowledge. It helps wives bring a feminine embodiment into a difficult marriage, and it eases the tension that's negative. Or it's the second outcome, the discovery that they're actually married to a dangerous man, and how her healing will grow her boundaries, will build her confidence so that she can safely gray rock that covert narcissist out. In today's video, I'm going to talk about more ways we can see the difference between cleaving and love bombing. The question I want to ask you is, do you reflect the truth of what's being put into you by your husband in the marriage relationship? If he puts in negative, do you reflect that truth back? A woman is a mirror of a man, not the other way around. Adam was created first, and not until he made the revelation that he was alone did God create the Ezer Neged, a powerful force for help against the man. What that means is that if Adam is worthy, Eve will be a helper. But if he's not worthy, she'll be against him for strife. That's the way a mirror works. She reflects the truth of what she's receiving. That's why I say that a man does good towards his wife, then he feels good when she receives, because she'll reflect that back to him. The unhealthy man wants this relationship dynamic reversed. He wants to consume femininity instead of having the truth of what he is reflected back to him by her. He wants to receive all the good from the power of femininity without the work masculinity is supposed to do to reap that good. He wants to reap without the work of inputting into her. Okay, listen. A dangerous man hates the work involved in cleaving
to you because he feels he's entitled to the good in you, that good that God took out of him to create you, that feminine essence that made him complete when he was alone, that structure of completeness within him, he no longer possesses because it is you. He wants to take that good and replant it in himself, for himself. That's the opposite of what he's commanded to do in 1 Peter 3:7. He is commanded to put into you, not himself. When God created man, he created them male and female. Even though there was only one, that first human was a male, God said it two ways. He said God created him, then he said God created them. In him, the female was present. God just hadn't taken her out of the male yet. Remember, testosterone is the XY. He holds both of the genders within himself. The woman was kept inside the man's own body. Then God took her out of the man, because although God said his creation was good, obviously taking woman out of the man was better. That's why Paul says to love your wife like she is your own body, because she is. But it requires way more responsibility to love this other complete person when she's outside instead of inside his body. Every time you see a pregnant woman, you can see this metaphor, that a woman has another complete human body inside of her, just like Adam did. Isn't it easier to take care of a baby when it's preborn? The responsibility is magnified greatly afterwards. Do you see the difference? A healthy man feels a greater sense of responsibility for femininity because she's his gauge of goodness of the relationship. That's how she's the ezer neged, through authentic response. He understands that they are co-heirs in the relationship, and he wants to be the head of that relationship. An unhealthy man sees that femininity was given to him to serve him. That femininity is to be submissive, as an assistant or aid, the helper, to pick up the slack for him, to make his life easier. Even though she's the weaker vessel, he feels a lesser sense of responsibility. Lesser sense? Probably no responsibility for femininity, because she fulfills a role for him. This little bit of responsibility that he accepts, if he does accept any, is in form and structure only. He wants her to just go through the motions to fulfill the role of a wife for his function. All the rest, all the part that's in the middle, the relationship part, he wants to consume back inside himself, like it was with Adam at the beginning. Having femininity consumed back inside his body completely removes the relationship component in marriage, making his life easier and freer. He gets to live like a single person, bearing none of the responsibility for femininity, but at the same time, he gets his needs taken care of domestically. Laundry, functions at home. Covert narcissists believe domestics are beneath them. So all of the mother tasks, he offloads onto her. And so he gets to do what he wants when he's at home. He's not lonely or bored. He has someone to extract on whenever he experiences lonely or boredom. Do you see the difference? A healthy man might be difficult, but he wants to cleave to you. He wants you to train him how to cleave to you as an individual, your personal likes and dislikes and preferences. He struggles how to make it happen because he doesn't know what it looks like. But he knows what God has said is true. It is not good for him to be alone. If your husband is a dangerous man, he already knows how to cleave to you, and that you need his masculinity as a female, and what you like as an individual person, because you've already told him. You've asked, you've shared, you've requested, you've explained how important it is that he moves towards you in initiation and experiences interactions and exchanges towards you. How important it is for your femininity that he takes the responsibility to be the head that God designed him to be as the male. Yet, you still feel alone and uncleaved to. He's purposely withholding cleaving to you in order to hurt you. He wants to hurt you for you wanting him to take responsibility for something he feels he's entitled to, your femininity. That's why a wolf will complain in some way. You're too emotional, you're too needy, you're too sensitive. Being in relationship is too much work for any person other than himself. He doesn't like it, so he will not put into you. He's able to literally, emotionally punch you in your heart by withholding what you need. The thing that God created inside of you, the desire to be cleaved to. By withholding his masculinity from you, he invalidates your femininity. He watches you hurt as he doesn't give you what you need, and then he feigns ignorance like he didn't know. Then you try and explain your hurt, and then he becomes the victim, like you're attacking him for not knowing. How many times have you walked through that destructive cycle? I know for me, it was thousands of times. I thought he was just super difficult, super clueless, super angry. I believed it was my inability to transfer information, so I kept trying. I didn't realize how dangerous he was. I didn't know he was a wolf in sheep's clothing. Remember, covert narcissists aren't overt. They're not wolves that look like wolves. They look like sheep. Their abuse is not loud, aggressive, pushy, or in your face. It's quiet, strategic, insidious, and sneaky. It's not just inferences that are vague, but mostly slights towards you. And even slights, it's not the right word. It's more like ambient invalidation. It's the constant temperature within the bubble of your sphere when he's in it. Your feminine esteem and confidence is siphoned out of you every time you go through that cycle of destruction. It leaks out whenever he's in your sphere of influence. A dangerous man strives to nullify your feminine emotions and feelings. That is his idea of emotional connection to you. Feeding. Invalidating your emotions, if we get down to it, it sounds gritty, but it's about dehumanizing you as a woman. Jesus calls that sin. He says that sin isn't just about not doing what you know you're not supposed to do, but it's also when you choose not to do what you know is right to do. Covert narcissists operate by this sin of omission. The best way I've found to articulate this experience is the difference between 2 and 4. A man is called to cleave to his wife, not cleave for his wife. A healthy man knows he's responsible for cleaving to femininity and he wants to do things for her as well. Cleaving to is how a man puts into his wife before he can put it into his wife. I hope that little word metaphor isn't too crass for you. A healthy male loves this result and loves the weight of the headship for the relational work. It's what makes him feel like a man. A healthy man wants the whole woman, not just the small bit of the functional role of the wife, but the whole of her as a feminine being. When he's dysfunctional, he's just ignorant of how the process plays out. That's why it feels difficult to you. But the more authentic and transparent and open in your communication, the more knowledge he has, and little by little, he changes, and the better the both of you get as a couple. You look back over 2 or 3 or 5 years, and you're better and closer. He knows you more, and you know him more. It's not perfect. This process takes a lifetime to perfect, but there is progress as a partnership. With a dangerous man, the more you communicate your needs, wants, and desires, the more you want his masculinity, the more ammunition you give him to withhold it and use it against you. The more ways you give him to invalidate your femininity instead of cleave to you. The more honest you are, the more arguments and fights you have about it instead of it getting better. You look back over 3, 5, 10, or in my case, 20 to 30 years, and all you see are hundreds and thousands of bumps under a rug, unresolved conflict. Your history now looks like a field full of landmines, and you don't know where to step anymore. And you don't seem a better feminine being. Your inner person, she doesn't feel better. You feel less seen. You feel smaller. You feel less adequate, less capable, less you, as he tries to bury your mind, heart, soul in strength back inside himself. The word is codependent, invalidation of a woman's femininity. It shrinks and cripples her, making her cripply dependent. I think codependent is, although in the psychological realm it captures it, but the reality of what I experienced was cripply dependent on him because he had consumed all of my independence. The dangerous man will not cleave to his wife. He only does things for her because doing things for her is always connected with the eyes of other people. So even the things he does for her are really for him. Remember, cleaving to is a private exchange of affection and exchanges and interchanges. It's the interplay in private that creates true connection in a natural way. I'm not talking about simple kindnesses that we do for each other as humans. Simple kindnesses that a good man would do for any woman or person. Buying a birthday card for you or your mom or his grandmother. Buying you flowers on your birthday, or your mom or his daughter on their birthdays. Opening the door to allow you to go first. Or his grandmother or any woman, female workmate. Opening a jar of pickles for you, or your son, or your daughter. These are all great things that good men do, right? When there's relationship, they feel good. With a dangerous man, there's no connection of a relationship. It just seems like there is. All these actions are done for you to the exclusion of any intimacy that will grow from masculinity cleaving to femininity in an organic, real relationship. So what happens is all of these, over the years, these things that he does for you, they begin to feel awkward or odd, just off. and you can't put your finger on why. If all you have is cleaving for you, do you know what that is? It's a brother-sister relationship. It's roommates. It's neighbors. Cleaving to is the defining line that makes it next level. Husband and wife, the one flesh relationship. Your sex life is a key indicator of a dangerous man. It will be a source of discontentment, trials and struggles, and just a lot of fighting. You'll be conflicted about the same thing over and over ad nauseum. And all of the blame somehow, some way, is always rooted back to you because he will not cleave to you. The wolf disguised as the sheep wants you to believe that when God talks about cleaving to, he only means intercourse. The dangerous man wants you conditioned against the feelings, needs, and wants of the truth of your own feminine feelings. Remember when I said that cleaving to is how a man puts into his wife before he can put it into his wife? God intentionally configured femininity to work this way. Sex has two components. The emotional is how your husband puts into you, so that you will physically want him to put it into you. Remember, men do good, then feel good. Women feel good, then do good. In my situation, my biggest red flag was when he only initiated sex in bed and when I was asleep. He would not put into me. When he only initiates when you're asleep to the exclusion of any other initiation of sex or connection anywhere else, that's a major red flag. When I showed him non-sexual affection, he would always flip it and turn it into a sexual advance for himself every time. And when I didn't follow through, he got angry, like I had taken something away from him. He called me terrible names and framed it like I was teasing him. After we got married, he diminished the love bombing, which I thought was cleaving towards me, and he replaced it with cleaving for me. For the next 30 years, he never cleaved to me. I thought it was my problem. He achieved this conditioning of my soul through intermittent reinforcement. Here's my takeaway. Don't get confused, dear one. Sex is a mingling of both masculinity and femininity, not just testosterone-driven exchange. Intercourse is not an isolated destination that belongs within the functional role of a wife. Intercourse is a manifestation of the primary way femininity validates masculinity for putting into it. If you're not being cleaved to, you are not being put into. So stop pretending that you're receiving masculine headship in a one flesh relationship. He is not doing the relational heavy lifting. Stop validating masculinity when you don't experience it or feel it. See, the difficult husband, he will notice this and take steps to change and honor your femininity. It will be slow at first, like learning the new steps to a new dance, but the effort is what reveals the heart of the man. The dangerous toxic man will not rise to the challenge of a healthy chase, to cleave to you. He won't honor your boundaries and he will blame you. As you slowly disengage from doing his job for him, when you stop doing all the responsibilities of headship and simply assume your own feminine part. Closing thoughts. First, shh.
Don't say a word about this to him. Discovering that your husband's dangerous is a scary place to end up. It's never where you thought you'd be, and it feels like an unreality. But your silence about your awareness of what he really is, that's your safety zone. And always remember, a clueless guy that causes dysfunction and seems difficult, he's not dangerous. But the malignant man is not clueless. He just pretends to be difficult and dysfunctional so that he can hide how dangerous he is.